On Tuesday's inauguration of the three-day UN special session on international drug policy, some high-ranking UN officials made the argument that the sharply criticized status quo of prohibition policies should maintain its course.
We don't need really new approaches to global drug policy. Quite to the contrary. What we need is to better implement the principles of the drug control treaties, which require a balanced and comprehensive approach where health and welfare is at the core of the policy.
Yet, some world leaders challenged this argument. President ENRIQUE PEÑA of Mexico, one of the three Latin American countries that called for the UN session in 2012, acknowledged the growing global choir of criticisms against prohibition drug policies that seek to criminalize.
Before the limitations of the prohibition paradigm, the global drug theme should be attended through a human rights perspective. That is the only way we can offer an integral and balanced response that promotes development. This substantial change implies modifying the specifically criminalizing focus.
Yet, while Peña ultimately argues that the criminalization of consumers of narcotic substances should be reduced, he subtly reiterated Mexico's criticized stance of confronting and combating narcotics producers and traffickers, which human rights defenders argue has been the policy that has sustained nearly a decade of staggering levels of violence in the country and region.
We must intensify the cooperation between our governments and extend the exchange of information and joint operations so as to dismantle criminal organizations.
Activists and families of victims of the so-called drug war argue that the militarization strategy that has left more than 100,000 dead and 27,000 disappeared in Mexico produces greater harm at the individual and collective level than the consumption of drugs. They also say it produces a fertile terrain for corruption, undermines the rights of communities over their resources and territory, and fundamentally disintegrates social fabric.
It is not a war on any plant or any substance. This is a war against people and communities. In that sense, it has served to legitimize the Merida Initiative, the anti-immigration Southern Border Plan, the militarization of police forces in all of our countries, hurting the population and defending the interests of the elite, whether that be political or economic.
Yet activists and victims do express optimism that a paradigm shift in terms of global drug policies is imminent. Specifically in Mexico, it is expected that Peña will announce on Thursday a plan to legalize the medical use of marijuana. Clayton Canta del Sur, Mexico City.